So we're going to go now to our taped coverage of what happened here earlier this morning, beginning with the arrival of the Governor General. The Governor General, who of course acts as Canada's head of state in Canada when the Queen is not in the country. Today she is here on behalf of the people of Canada and will be speaking in that function. She'll also conduct an inspection of the Guard of Honor in a few moments, shortly before the Queen arrives. The Governor General was in attendance yesterday when Prince Charles toured the cemetery at Benny-sur-Mer, the Canadian War Cemetery, and then of course later in the day for the major ceremony yesterday at Benny-sur-Mer, remembering those Canadians who'd fallen in action on June 6 and in the days that followed, in what was a brutal campaign to liberate all of Normandy and then on through the rest of France. Vice-regal salute played for the Governor General, who will now be invited to inspect the Guard of Honor. And a special Guard of Honor it is today, Jack.
It's made up from the militia units that were part of the 3rd Canadian Infantry Division, the D-Day Division, plus Air Force members from the Canadian Forces Support Unit in Europe. Basically, they work to support Canada's participation in the NATO AWACS fleet, the Airborne Warning and Control flights, one of which at least is circling over Normandy as we speak, providing security for the meeting of heads of state later in the day. The color party comes from, the flag party, I should say, comes from the Navy, and the band is from HMCS Naden, based on the West Coast.
You mentioned security. There's a massive security operation here along the whole stretch of the 50 miles, 80 kilometers of beachhead that represent the celebrations for the anniversary of D-Day. And we've witnessed it here no less than anywhere else. As you say, there are many heads of state and heads of government in attendance for this. Concerns about security are always high in the world we live in these days, but especially so in these past couple of days.
Peter, the French have 30,000 troops and police in Normandy providing security, and as you can hear, there's a constant roar of helicopters going overhead continuously, it seems. Checkpoints everywhere, armed troops. They're taking it very seriously.
And there's one of them, no doubt, signaling that the Queen's motorcade is probably close at hand as well, as it's due to arrive in the next minute or so. The Queen and Prince Philip will both be here for this special ceremony at the Juno Beach Center. Prime Minister welcoming the Governor General, and there's Sheila Martin as well, the wife of the Prime Minister.
long have you been here? What time have you been here?
We meet again.
We certainly have.
Yeah, Mr. Melanza, I thought you
My dinner party.
You got friends everywhere for that.
Well, I'm glad you're one of them.
Well, thank you.
So,
Oh, my
nice to see you.
Roach Worship Arena, how are you?
Hi, very well. Nice to see you.
You're on TV, Gordon.
Some of the veterans enjoying their moment on television as they're greeted by the Governor General and the Minister of Veterans Affairs, as well as the Prime Minister, taking this opportunity as they await the arrival of the Queen to say hello.
Representing Manitoba and a number of chairmen of the public.
All this happening at the Juno Beach Center, which opened a year ago this day. A museum of sorts inside there, acknowledging Canada's role during the Second World War. Special area outside, a number of pillars with bricks that have been purchased by individual Canadians across the country, and there are thousands of them already, honoring their fathers, brothers, grandfathers, grandmothers, all of the men and women who took part in the Second World War, the Canadians. Now this is the Queen's motorcade arriving now. Not the normal type of limo we see the royal couple in, as it seems to be more of an SUV looking vehicle.
And probably armored, I would imagine,
Yeah, I'm
Peter.
sure it is. The Queen arrives at the Juno Beach Center. She's the colonel-in-chief of a couple of the regiments involved, Canadian regiments that were involved on D-Day, the Chaudière and the North Shore New Brunswick Regiment. Meeting with a couple of the veterans and moving to take her place. First of all, for a royal salute, God Save the Queen will be played.
The Queen is being escorted, Peter, by Richard Romer, Major General Richard Romer, who was the head of the D-Day 60th Anniversary Organization Committee.
And a World War II veteran himself.
A fighter pilot.
The Queen will be speaking to those assembled here. She won't be staying for the whole ceremony. She's got to spend time today at a number of different locations, and she'll be heading over to the British ceremony in a few moments. But first, she wanted to stop here, and she wanted to be heard here as well, as she will have a short speech. But first, the royal salute. God save the Queen.
Royal salute! Present! Out!
royal salute completed, the Queen will be escorted to her spot on the platform where the Prime Minister and the Governor General are in attendance.
East.
And General Romer will welcome everyone here now to this special ceremony, and we'll listen in.
Your Majesty, Royal Highness, Your Excellencies, Prime Minister, Minister of Veterans Affairs, D-Day veterans and the Battle of Normandy veterans, and honored guests. I am Major General Richard Romer, a participant in the Canadian attack at this very beach, Juno Beach, 60 years ago, this very moment, this very day. Je m'appelle Major General Richard Romer.
My name is Richard Romer, and I participated in the Canadian attack, which happened on June 6th, 60 years ago at this moment.
D-Day veterans and all veterans of the Battle of Normandy, and in particular, on behalf of all those veterans assembled here today, especially those who had the toughest, most dangerous tasks of all, the Army veterans. It is my privilege to welcome to our Juno Beach for the first time Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth, His Royal Highness the Duke of Edinburgh, Her Excellency the Right Honourable Adrian Clarkson, Governor General of Canada, and with her His Excellency John Ralston Saul, whose late father was a D-Day veteran, and the Right Honourable Paul Martin, Prime Minister of Canada, and Madame Sheila Martin. Au nom de tous les anciens combattants du D-Day,
On behalf of all the veterans of D-Day,
au nom de tous ces membres anciens combattants,
and on behalf of all veterans who are here today,
particulièrement ceux qui ont eu
especially
les tâches les plus difficiles
those who had the most difficult tasks, the Army units, it is a pleasure for me to welcome you to Juno Beach for the first time. Her Majesty, Her Royal Highness Queen Elizabeth, and Her Excellency Adrian Clarkson, Governor General of Canada, and His Excellency John Ralston Saul, whose father was a veteran of D-Day, and the Right Honourable Paul Martin, the Prime Minister of Canada, and Madame Sheila Martin. I would invite Her Majesty to speak to the Canadian veterans of D-Day and of the Normandy battle.
To address the Canadian veterans of D-Day and the Battle of Normandy.
Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, the invasion of France in 1944 was one of the most dramatic military operations in history. It would have been difficult enough for a single nation to plan and execute such an enterprise. For a group of allies with little previous experience in cooperation, it was a major triumph. The operation itself was a resounding success, but it was only achieved with the sacrifice of many courageous and determined Allied servicemen, including a large number of your Canadian colleagues who landed here with you on Juno Beach. Britain had been directly threatened by the enemy, but you came across the Atlantic from the relative security of your homeland to fight for the freedom of Europe. For Canadians involved in the fight from its earliest months, the raid on Dieppe was a tragedy, but in retrospect, the lessons learned there proved to be lifesavers for many thousands when you came to land in Normandy.
Despite the distance between Canada and Normandy, Canadians and French enjoy close ties.
les générations futures de
Future
Canadiens
generations of Canadians of all origins will be able to be proud of the immense contribution of the Canadian air and naval forces to the liberation of Europe.
The 60th anniversary of the Normandy landings is a moment for thanksgiving and a moment for commemoration. Today we honor all those who gave their lives in this campaign and all of you who fought in this great struggle. I know that present and future generations join me in thanking all Canadians who took part in this great venture. On this anniversary day, I join all your countrymen and allies in saluting you, the heroes and veterans of a historic campaign.
Thank you, Your Majesty. Merci, Votre Majesté. Je demanderai maintenant au très honorable
I will now ask
Paul Martin,
the Right
Premier
Honorable Paul
Minister
Martin,
de Canada,
Prime Minister of
de venir
Canada,
dire quelques mots.
to come and speak.
I now invite the Right Honorable Paul Martin, Prime Minister of Canada, to address the Canadian veterans of D-Day and the Battle of Normandy.
Your Majesty, Your Royal Highness, Your Excellency, honored veterans. Keep pressing ahead, they were told, against the snipers, against the mortars, against the mighty guns encased in the German pillboxes that morning. It was a soldier's only chance at accomplishing his mission. It was his best chance of surviving. Keep pressing ahead.
In choppy seas, the doors of the landing crafts opened as they opened all along the northern shore of France, as they had opened 2 years earlier at Dieppe. So many Canadians died there for the cause of liberty. Out on the Channel on D-Day, some spoke of revenge for that grim day. Others remained silent as the coast grew larger, the battle grew nearer.
60 years ago today, the doors opened and they pressed ahead. They'd been training for this. They had been waiting. Thousands of Canadian soldiers pressed ahead here against an entrenched enemy. Men fell around them, a friend, a brother, someone with whom they just shared a joke, a mug of rum, or a tin of soup. Men fell, and still they took the beach. Men fell, and still they took the fortifications. They moved inland. They fought in the streets. They liberated the towns. As darkness came, they were still pressing ahead. The waters of the English Channel and the winds of the Normandy coast have erased the footprints these men left in Juno Beach. But not even the great tides of time can wash away the deep impressions they have made in our national history and in the chronicles of the free world.
When these soldiers, these men of nerve, are gone, their children will still come, and their grandchildren. Prime ministers will come, artists and historians will come. Those whose grandfathers, great-grandfathers, and great-great-grandfathers landed on June 6, 1944. Those who know the terrible cost of war only from books, they will come. Canadians will come.
Forevermore, we will come to this lonely patch of beauty, to look upon the beaches, to reflect, to marvel, to feel the tears rise and the heart pound, to say a silent thank you. Forevermore, we will come to this place of sad and triumphant history to see where tyranny was repelled and where freedom was reborn. Like the men who stormed this beach, we will keep pressing ahead as men and women, as a nation, as a global community. Because of your valor, because of the sacrifice of those who died here, we have that opportunity and we will seize it. We will always seek to press ahead. But we will pause too. And we will pause and think of you. And we will think of those whose last breath was of this air. We will think of you, and we will be grateful. Thank you.
Thank you, Prime Minister. I now invite Her Excellency, the Right Honourable Adrienne Clarkson, Governor-General of Canada and Commander-in-Chief, to address the Canadian veterans on D-Day and the Battle of Normandy.
Votre Majesté,
Your Majesty,
Votre Altesse Royale,
Your Royal Highness,
Monsieur le Premier Ministre,
Your Excellency
Monsieur
Prime
le
Minister,
Chef d'État-Major de la Défense,
Chief of Defense Staff,
Monsieur le Ministre,
Minister,
distingués anciens combattants,
distinguished veterans,
Mesdames et Messieurs,
ladies and gentlemen.
all our veterans. 6 decades ago, the soldiers of 3 great nations, Canada, Great Britain, and the United States, carrying the hopes of a world dreaming of freedom, landed here in Normandy. And within months, the fortunes of war and the fate of millions were turned toward that freedom. I add my words in remembrance and praise of the fallen, and in grateful recognition of all veterans of the Battle of Normandy. It is so deeply moving to see so many of you here today, so many that I have shared the last few days with. But there are those who are not here on this beautiful sunny beach, and we remember those who are not here, including those who fell in Normandy and who, with courage, with a sense of duty, laid at their country's feet the most glorious contribution they could offer. They met danger face to face, and after one brief moment, while at the summit of their fortune, left behind them not their fear, but their glory. And that was the way that Athenian warriors who died in battle were celebrated 2,500 years ago. And in no less noble a way, our fallen Canadians have written boldly in the annals of our history. They have written their names in our hearts. Veterans, you are their comrades. Like my husband's father, Captain Bill Saul, who landed with the Royal Winnipeg Rifles on D-Day, this day, 60 years ago, on the beach before you. You knew them. You shared their banter, you shared the fighting, and you unfailingly remember them. Like them, you were members of a volunteer army. Your Majesty, we are delighted that you are joining us and all Canadians in this commemoration. All the veterans here have the deepest respect and affection for your family, and you have a special place in their hearts because most of them remember you as Princess Elizabeth. For Canada and Canadians, the fires of World War were a crucible in which our national character was tested yet again. a furious challenge that transformed our country into a determined force for international stability and freedom, a force I have seen carrying on that legacy today in Kosovo, in Bosnia, in the Arabian Gulf, and in Afghanistan.
Our robust national response to the needs of war and the respect we earned through our military contributions, be it in Northern or Southern Europe, were milestones of maturity and confidence. The Canada that greeted our returning soldiers was not marked only by joy and relief, but also by optimism, energy, and the high regard of its national peers. You who are here, you are living witnesses of a horror that we try to put behind us. But you are also the guarantors of our memory. The quiet testimony of your lives has been a lesson and a warning to our civilization.
Along with your fallen comrades, you cleared the rocky fields of war to sow a harvest of peace. In the words of the prophet Isaiah, you gave beauty for ashes, the oil of joy instead of mourning, the garment of praise instead of the spirit of despair. We honor you with all our hearts and with all our national will. It is said that no person is honored for what he has received. Honor is a reward for what a person has given. Honor is the reward for what you have given. You have Canada's enduring gratitude.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. I now invite Lieutenant Colonel Bourgeois, Canadian Forces Chaplain, to offer a prayer.
Let us pray. Prions. O Lord, did you hear the captain of the ship on that day when he communicated to his crew by saying, "Men, on this day, at this hour, if you have a prayer, say it for those brave boys who are storming the shore. It may be that at the end of the day, we will be together at the portal of eternity. May God keep us in the palm of his hand. But dear God, did you see him when he fell?